Hi, my name is Angelo Lopez. I'm a Filipino-American editorial cartoonist and fine artist in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm very happy today to be talking to two wonderful people, Linda and Dennis Ronberg. Now, in the 1990s, I worked for them at their bookstore, Linden Tree Children's Bookstore, which is in Los Altos, California. A few weeks ago, I was very happily surprised to see them both. I think it's been 30, almost 30 years since I last saw you both and stuff.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, so, but I'm thrilled to have seen you both. And that gave me the idea to do this talk and stuff. So today we'll be talking about the history of Linden Tree Bookstore, as well as how life is been going for you both since you retired and stuff. So thank you both very much. And I'm very honored to be speaking to you both too.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, let me start with my first question then. You know, how did you both get inspired to start a children's recording and bookstore? And what were the early years like? What were the challenges?
I didn't have a job.
Oh.
Um, I had quit my job as a plant manager of a laminating plant that made laminated panels for kitchen cabinets and countertops and things like that. And Linda was doing preschool. She was teaching preschool, and we
Oh,
lived in Tacoma, Washington. I grew up in the Seattle area, and Linda grew up in Los Altos, actually. Uh,
oh,
Go ahead.
I wasn't teaching because we had the kids already. I
Yes, sweetie.
I wasn't teaching then. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was in a
Okay,
parent cooperative preschool, but I
that's
had
right.
been a preschool teacher before.
oh, okay.
And I was looking for a job, and
We had friends, college friends from who lived in Vancouver, British Columbia, who invited us with the kids to come up and spend a weekend with them and go to the Vancouver Children's Festival. And there we saw some children's musicians, Raffi, Sharon, Lois, and Bram, Fred Penner, and others. And we thought their music was pretty good. I took some of the recordings to the preschool teacher that our kids went to because she was a music major. And I said, "What do you think about these?" And she said, "They're good." And we decided maybe we could distribute them in the US. They weren't being distributed here.
the value, from our perspective of most of this music, was that it was folk music. Actually, I
Oh,
mean, to use one term for it, which means that folk could sing it. It wasn't a very sophisticated background and vocals that were so beyond your singing register that an
yeah.
average person couldn't sing it.
It wasn't the high squeaky things
Nor was it the high
that we
squeak. Yeah,
tended to hear with the idea of children's music
little
at
cartoony
that time.
characters or something. No. And so a person that we will talk about quite a bit is Raffi.
Yeah.
And if anybody listens to this who's had children, um,
Chances are.
chances are they may have, depending upon whether they were exposed to music as an early childhood,
Yeah.
I mean, in their early childhood, they would have listened to Raffi.
Yeah.
He was a folk singer. He didn't have a great voice, but he had a fine voice. And it was a sort of voice where you would feel like singing along. And
Oh,
I think that was, yeah, it was one of the keys to his
yeah.
success. And he now has probably about 9, 10 albums.
Oh,
And the first album was Singable Songs for the Very Young. And
yeah.
that says it all. They were singable songs, and they were for the very young.
And
Yeah.
I think the second year that we went to see him in Canada, we were in tents out in a park in Vancouver, and
Oh.
there was a terrible hail and rainstorm. Wow, at just about the end of the concert. And here we were in this tent. We were safe and dry, but it was raining and it didn't show any signs of stopping. And Raffi said, "You guys don't want to go out in that, do you?" And we all said no. And
Yeah.
he just kept on singing.
And
Oh.
everybody sang along with him. It was
Wow.
wonderful. It was
He
great.
sounded like a good live performer.
He was, and he had a gift of making children feel like he was singing just to them, just to each one of them. Each
Oh.
child that watched him, you could see on their faces, he connected with them in this really beautiful way. And
Oh.
um, children with disabilities, children who had various issues, really, really related to him, and
Yeah.
it was a beautiful thing.
So Linda, as a preschool teacher, said, yes, this seems like something we might be able to do. And I looked into it. And at that time, his music was being distributed by a company out of the East Coast called Kimbo Educational. And I contacted them and they said, well, we don't have any representatives on the West Coast. And we'd love to, we could see the potential because in Canada, he's a hit.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the United States, they barely knew about him.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, okay, I will start distributing some of it. And
Yeah.
we distributed to the University of Washington bookstore, Secret Garden bookstore, which is a children's bookstore, etc.
Yeah.
And then Raffi said, well, when we talked to him on the phone,
Yeah.
he was in Toronto at the time. He's since moved to Vancouver area
Oh.
um, on Salt Spring Island. But
Yeah.
when he lived back there, he said, you know, I would like to do some concerts. Can you set up a concert for us?
Oh.
So what we did was get the Tacoma Association for the Education of Young Children to sponsor a concert at Tacoma High School. And then we also did a concert in Seattle at the
Museum of History and Industry.
for Washington, yeah, the Washington Museum of History and Industry.
Yeah.
And that was a sellout. It was amazing. We
Wow.
didn't think it would be. It wasn't a big auditorium. It was maybe 300, 350 people, but
Yeah.
still for a relative unknown. And
Yeah.
so we felt encouraged.
Yeah.
Um, and then we thought, gee, we should move on. We need to do more.
Yeah.
And for that first year, we would go to early childhood conferences.
Yeah.
We did some presentations with preschools and parent cooperative preschools.
We
Do you
did.
want to speak to that or?
We made a brochure and did parent education about the importance of sharing music with children and
Yeah.
how music is plays a part in every stage of child development,
Yeah.
emotional, social, physical. I can't remember the other ones. I have
It's a
them here.
wonderful lubricant to get children together, get adults and children together.
Yeah.
It's a focal point, and it's a fun way of relating to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Just even, choirs and music and singing.
And it's
Taylor Swift is an example of that as you grow up. In some ways, Raffi is a Taylor Swift of young kids.
Yeah.
Um, Certainly didn't have that popularity, but yes, that idea.
and
And
in the meantime, we we started distributing other Canadian children's musicians, and we found what little we could find at that time of people here who were making records.
Yeah.
Well, Pete Seeger and
Tom Glazer was
Tom
another.
Glazer,
Yeah,
Marsha Berman, was another, but and so we put together a catalog, and then we did these conferences and the parent education
And then we looked around for a store, a potential storefront in Tacoma,
Yeah.
and we thought, gee, I don't know. Tacoma, the weather is much more gray. The greater Pacific Northwest is much more gray. And Linda, who had grown up in Los Altos and sunshine and that sort of thing, I get depressed here sometimes with the girls and
I objected to having to walk to swimming lessons in the rain.
yeah, literally that's what we would do. And so we started thinking about maybe we should move to California near your parents.
Oh,
And so we started looking around and we found a real estate agent who was a friend of the family.
oh,
And she found a house for us in Menlo Park,
Where we are
yeah,
right now.
where we are now.
Same
And
house.
it was at a time when the real estate market was pretty soft and they'd lowered the price. And so we thought, well, maybe we should do it. So
yeah,
we, with help from Linda's family and what money we had in our house in Tacoma,
yeah.
we moved down here in the summer of 1983.
Wow.
And and we've been here ever since.
And we worked for a year. We worked from home. People
Yeah.
would come and listen to the recordings in our living room. We continued to do the parent education and the teacher conferences, and we decided that we finally found a shop to where we could rent some space in downtown Los Altos. It was about 900 square feet, and we thought, well, we can use half of it, and then we can rent out the other, sublet the other half,
Oh.
because records they the shelves are tall, but they're skinny, so they don't take up a lot of room.
and at this time, it was records. It wasn't no cassettes to speak of, and
Yeah,
certainly no CDs.
yeah,
Yeah. So we found a place on First Street, and my parents came down, and my father helped with the painting of some of the fixtures that we got from
oh.
other stores going out of business.
It was very much a family affair.
It
At that
definitely
time, it
was.
was, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Family and friends that helped
Yeah.
us all the way through, actually.
Yes.
uh,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we found one time we were driving home from dropping my parents at the San Francisco airport, and we came down El Camino, and there was a record store that was going out of business, and we said, well, let's just go look. And they were selling their fixtures, their record fixtures, and we thought, oh, those would be perfect for the store. So we bought their record fixtures.
yeah.
We
When I
bought bookshelves from bookstores that were going out of business,
Yeah.
including Shirley Cobb's bookstore in downtown Palo Alto.
Oh,
the daughter of Ty Cobb,
oh,
she had
the
the
baseball
baseball
player.
player.
Yeah,
Oh,
She
yeah, yeah.
had a store, and a longtime store on University Avenue in
Oh,
Palo
Palo
Alto.
Alto. And some of the fixtures when you worked for us were from her. I think the hardcover picture book pictures were from Shirley Cobb.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
wow. Wow.
Ones on the walls, for the wall, on the walls. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we got the store up and running, and like in Tacoma, we that first fall, we didn't have a store. We were just working out of our house,
Yeah.
but we asked Raffi if he would come and do a concert, and he said, "Yeah, I'll come." And we lined up Dianne Iyer, who was the head of the early childhood education department at Kenyatta College, and she said, "Well, I like Raffi, and if
The college.
we can
Oh, sorry, the
sponsor it, then we can get the theater for free.
Oh,
Otherwise, it's boy, almost nearly $1,000. So we thought,
Yeah.
oh, that's great. So we gave her all the profit from the tickets
For
for
the early childhood education
the
department
early
at the
childhood
uni.
education department.
Yeah.
And we did make some money on the record sales of that first concert.
Yeah.
Then that went well. And we had a Sharon, Lois, and Bram concert as well. And that went well. And again, the profits went to the early childhood program as far as the tickets were concerned, but we would keep the sales of the records. Then the following year, it started to be cassettes as well as records.
Yeah.
So we had two performances.
Yeah.
And instead of about 60% full,
Yeah.
the house was two performances of
They were sold
100%,
out.
almost
Yeah.
100%.
No, we had to turn people away.
Oh, that's right, we did.
And that was really hard because 3-year-olds who've been all hyped up about coming to see Raffi were
Yeah.
not happy, but the fire regulations wouldn't allow us to let them in. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so after that, we just made sure people bought their tickets ahead of time. We learned a lot. We didn't know what we were doing, this, and so we learned by trial and error, what we could do, what worked, what was a better idea, for the next time.
It sounded like you did a lot of footwork too and stuff. You know, you saw an opportunity and you instantly pounced on it, right? And
Yeah,
stuff.
we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's so cool and stuff. Yeah. You guys sound like very entrepreneurial people. It was sort of a combination of an entrepreneurial spirit, but also you have a great eye for the arts and stuff. You realize that folk music was something that can connect and that people could sing along with. There was a long, I guess, I know Pete Seeger had that tradition where when he had a concert, he'd have the crowd sing along with him and stuff. And I guess that's something that Raffi had too.
I think that's very common in Canada.
Okay.
And I was going to mention one of the things that one of the differences between Canada, children's music in Canada and children's music here is that because Canada is spread out and there are many small communities that are long distances from any big
Uh,
cities, the Canadian government paid those Canadian performers to go to those more remote places to do concerts. And
yeah.
so they had more income. The people here, I think it was much harder to make a living, as a children's singer.
Yeah. Was Raffi a pioneer in all of that? Was he
Yeah,
this?
he
Okay.
really was. I think he kind of I think that a lot of the others could um, should be also grateful to him because I think he really made children's music.
Kind of viable, I guess.
Yeah, and not only Raffi, Sharon, Lois, and Bram, Fred
Yeah.
Pinner. These people had their own television programs,
Oh, wow.
which I'm sure was also maybe subsidized by the government to some extent.
Yeah, that I don't know.
So they were able to be in people's living rooms too, and
Do you feel proud of being pioneer, sort of evangelist in making them known, I guess?
we feel good about it. I think it was important, and I think we were very lucky. It was just the right time. Raffi was just getting going. He had sung for adults before and wasn't terribly successful. And his wife was a kindergarten teacher, and his mother-in-law was a preschool teacher, and they encouraged him to sing for kids. And he would go around with his station wagon and records in the back and sell records out of the back of the station wagon. I mean, he was also just getting going with this. So we were really lucky that it all just kind of came together.
Yeah. When I was working, I think Charlotte Diamond was the
Yes.
big artist. Was she part of that, or was she part of
Oh,
that generation, or was
yes
she
and no.
later?
A little
Okay.
bit later, she we when we were successful with the concerts that we had been doing, Dennis and I was a docent for Music for Minors, which was an organization that trained teachers to teach music in the elementary schools.
Yeah.
Because Proposition 13
There was no music in the
had come along, and they were chopping out all of the
Yeah.
what they considered the frills, one of them being music.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to have music in the schools, it had to be either somebody donating money for a teacher or volunteers going into the schools. In
And
our case, it was volunteers. Go ahead.
Music for Minors was looking for a fundraiser to help support their program in the schools. And I was a docent, so I was working with them. And they said, and their fundraiser in the past had been a run, a community run. And I said, why don't we think of something that's a little more related to children's music, since we're teaching children's music? And
Yeah.
they said, could we do Raffi? And I said, I Raffi unfortunately took a big chunk of the proceeds of his concerts.
Yeah.
So we thought maybe we can find someone else that won't take quite such a big percentage and that will still work. And the same friends that had invited us to the children's festival said,
Yeah.
"Oh, we found someone new. Her name is Charlotte Diamond, and she is good." And so we went up and, oh no, they sent us a record. And
He happened to be from Vancouver, British Columbia also.
Oh, okay. Okay.
our friends sent us a record, and we contacted her and arranged to do a concert to benefit Music for Minors.
Yeah.
And she was much more generous with the proceeds going to them.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well, and they loved her, and she was their sort of shining star forever, I think.
Oh,
And
okay.
they did sponsor concerts with a couple of other people, with
Red Grammar,
Red Grammar,
Tom
and
Chafe.
Tom Chapin, and those were also very popular. But Charlotte just was kind of one of them. And actually, I'm still on that fundraising committee, and Charlotte still, we meet we're not active anymore, but we meet once a month or so for lunch, and we Zoom in with Charlotte, or FaceTime.
Oh, that's nice.
The value of these concerts, from our perspective, is that we often sponsored the concerts were put on at Foothill College. They have a very nice theater.
Yeah.
And seats 900 some, and or high school in Palo Alto, Spangenberg,
Gun High School.
or I mean Gun High School, Spangenberg Theater.
Yeah.
And the value is that the kids were learning Charlotte Diamond songs, or songs that she was singing,
Yeah.
in their music classes with the docents. And also, this was a chance for parents and grandparents to go to a concert together. There's not much available for kids from first grade to fifth grade as far as a concert, unless you want to start early teeny music.
Yeah.
And that was not our thing. And also at that time, it wasn't quite as popular as it is now. And so it was a win-win situation. It was a chance for grandparents to take their grandkids, chance for them to sing along, a chance to for the kids to be proud of the fact that they had learned the songs and this was music that they knew. So it was just, as I say, totally a win-win situation.
And it gave children an opportunity to learn concert etiquette, but at the same time to participate.
Yeah.
And I think that for young children to sit through a concert and not move and not sing along would be really, really difficult and painful. But because they were encouraged to join in and to wiggle, and they had a wonderful time.
And they didn't go on their own like um, young teens do now,
Yeah.
oftentimes, not always, to like a Taylor Swift concert or something. They went as a family unit. So the family enjoyed it with the young kids.
And they could repeat it with, if they had the recordings or whether, or just they knew the songs, they could sing them when they went on a car trip or at home or at a picnic. They could relive that
That
special time
experience. Yeah.
together.
I
So
like
these
the
concerts also,
multi-generation. It's very multi-generational.
It
I
was,
That's what
yeah.
I liked about it.
And again, these concerts, all of these concerts, especially the early Raffi concerts, helped to get our name out there and to give us a lot of publicity, which was wonderful
Yeah.
when we really needed it.
Yeah, yeah. When did you start doing books? Was it just you're talking about the music, but when did you put, it's a bookstore now and stuff. So when did
right,
you
it
start
is.
doing?
Yes,
I can't remember exactly when it
it
was,
was
but
very early, really.
we thought, well, we could at least look for some books, some music books and song books that
Yeah.
could complement the recordings. And then we found a couple of places, one in South San Francisco, I think, is that where Book People was, and one in
Book People is in
across the
Oakley.
bay. Oh, well, there were a couple across the bay then,
Yeah.
where you could go and get a grocery cart and pick books off the shelf in this warehouse and
Oh, okay.
at a wholesale price and bring them back to your store and resell them. So that's how we started out. Dennis would drive up there and
Oh,
roll along, picking things off the shelf. I didn't very often come with him, but and we mostly our kids were preschool and early elementary, our two daughters.
yeah.
And so we mostly picked out things that were familiar to us, either books that we already knew or authors that we knew
Or would be appropriate for
and that
them,
would be
yeah.
appropriate.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then we found out that there were resources available to people with bookstores. I mean, we
Yeah.
started without knowing any of that. And
Yeah.
publishers had publishers rep that would visit your store, bring samples of the books and catalogs, and help you see what was coming out that season and help you order. The American Booksellers Association had an annual convention, but also they had bookselling school and bookselling classes. And
Oh,
I remember one of those classes, I think, was probably the best thing that ever happened to us as for Linden Tree, and that was on special needs.
oh,
It was a woman who talked about the importance of having books about twins and adoption and
yeah.
cancer and diabetes and
Death in the family.
death and dying and she said when a parent or a grandparent comes in looking for those books, it's not only important that you have them on the shelf, it's important that you know those books and that you've read them and that you know what's going to help that person. And shortly after we really expanded that part of the store, a woman who was a regular customer came in asking for a book about death. And
Oh,
I went, oh my goodness. And I said, who, who? And she said, my
yeah.
husband. And
Oh,
I burst into tears, but I was able to help her find some books to help her children
yeah.
with this.
Yeah.
We had a reputation. I'm not quite sure how it came about, uh, that we did have these special interest books. And we've had several uh, hospitals that focus on children come and buy out whole shelves of our special needs
For their
Yeah,
library.
yeah.
because they didn't know where to go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, is it with you too? Did you find that because you were learning on the job, you could be more innovative without realizing it? you were filling a need that you didn't realize was there just because, a regular bookstore wouldn't do that just because they were doing things by the book, I guess, and stuff.
Yeah, that's
But
that's
because
an
because
interesting thought. Yeah.
I think that's probably true. Also because you know, they still don't.
okay, okay.
Our grandson was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at
Yeah,
6 years old, and we went to a couple of bookstores and asked for books, and nobody had anything.
yeah.
And so I think it worked. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
think
think maybe that's the importance of an independent bookstore is that you respond to the needs within your community and you can address it and stuff
yes,
instead of just being told what to you know. I,
Yes.
yeah,
I
okay.
think that's true. One of the things that we also uh, also um, tried to do was make sure that we carried a lot of books about diversity
Yeah.
and different ethnicities, and we carried books in other languages. We carried books even in Braille. We
Mhm.
carried. Um, we wanted children to see themselves, whatever their ethnicity and their origins, to see themselves in the books that we offered.
Oh,
And that was not always the case either. And we had an African American customer, a very good customer who worked with young children. He wrote us thank you notes for that we carried those books.
oh.
And so that really made us feel good. Feel
Okay.
that was important. And not every store would give up space to do that. And
Yeah.
I didn't feel it was giving up space. I thought it was enriching our store.
Oh
Um,
no, when I worked in your store, I loved working in your store. I was always fast. I only worked there part-time. At that time, I had four jobs. You were one of the four jobs
Oh
I
my God.
had at that time and stuff. I was in my 20s, so I had the energy and stuff. But I just remember loving going to that store. And my coworkers, they were pretty. I didn't see them all the time, but I remember Lynn. I don't know Lynn. She her one of her nephews married a close friend of mine and stuff,
ah,
Jessica and stuff. And yeah, I just remember I just liked working there and stuff. It was relaxed. You had all those puppets and stuff. It was just
Yeah.
a fun place to work and stuff. But I think I worked mostly later in the day. I don't think I worked in the morning and stuff because in the morning I think I connected with you because I was working in the Santa Clara Public Library Children's Department, and I think Jan Lieberman connected me to you.
oh, I bet
Oh,
you did.
Dan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She passed away in 2019 and stuff, but she was probably she and her husband Don were my two best friends for a long time.
They
But
were amazing.
yeah, we have 3 minutes left for this first meeting. I'm just gonna chuck the questions. I'm enjoying what you're saying so much and stuff that I don't think we really need the questions. I may interject once in a while and ask a question. Are you enjoying the talk so far, or
Pardon me?
are you enjoying the talk,
We
or?
are. I think when we started thinking about, well, we looked at the questions that you had sent us,
Which are good.
and
Yeah.
we started thinking about those early days of the store and all the days of the store, but um, we had so many memories, and we
Yeah.
just, I started writing things down just because I didn't want to forget.
Yeah. Is there somebody, besides this interview, is there somebody doing a more in-depth history of the store, like archives and stuff? That would be nice and stuff because I, I, I'm sure I'm not the only employee of that store that has fond memories of that store and stuff. So, it would be nice for both you and the community just to have a history of that.
Well, I am very curious to go to the archives of the Los Altos History Association, History
Museum.
Museum.
Oh,
In
okay.
their basement, they have a nice small museum there about the history of Los Altos and history of the hearts of your heart, the history of Valley of Heart's Delight, which was mostly apricots.
Yeah.
And I gave them three office supply boxes of papers
Oh,
uh, about 6 or 7 years ago. and they were going to go through and they were going to save some, and then they were going to chuck the rest. And I've always wanted to go back and see what they felt was important. So
Yeah.
there is something there.
And they did approach us about doing an oral history, which we
should.
have not followed through on, and I'm not sure the same people are there anymore.
This could be part of that and stuff. Maybe this could be the start of that. Hey, you're back.
We're back.
We're back. I was thinking of something. If you want to do an oral history project, you can do it yourself. You know how my Zoom account is free? You can always get a free Zoom account and do your own. The only thing is with a free Zoom account, you're limited to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff. But if you don't mind doing like several videos where you can just tell the oral history to preserve it and stuff. Because, my thing is an hour and 20 minutes. I'm sure you have a ton of stories that won't fit in an hour and 20 minutes and stuff. So, yeah, but if you think about that, if nothing else, because I think that's history that's very important to preserve and stuff. And the reason why I think it's important to preserve is a question I want to ask and stuff. You two felt an important part of the community because of what you were doing to promote music and stuff, and to give opportunities for people to get books that would not be easily accessed. But the bookstore itself, why is a bookstore like Linden Tree important to communities too?
I think it offers a place for people to come together for lots of different things. You may remember Royd and Sue Shen, who worked at the store. They have been teaching kids writing classes at Linden Tree. It's a chance for a place for book clubs to meet. We felt like some of the activities that we did, the author events, we got to know, we got a little bit more knowledgeable about children's musicians from this area, and learned about an organization called Children's Music Network, and they were kind of grassroots.
Oh, okay.
Children's musicians
Grassroots
around the country and also some other countries now. And but there were a number of people in the Bay Area, and then sometimes there were people from other places who were traveling and were looking for a place to do a concert or a workshop. And so we did these. We sometimes hooked people up with Music for Minors to do workshops for their docents, but we also did concerts in the summertime. Every Wednesday morning, we would have a concert in the courtyard. We had that big covered courtyard, and
within the building. It was within the building, behind the store. You'd go through the back door, and there was this inner courtyard.
Yeah, I remember
shared
that
with the furniture store.
Yeah. That's when I was working there.
And they would have their sale furniture in there, and we sometimes had to push it aside. But it was a great situation for us. Go ahead, honey. I interrupted you.
Okay. That to those things, people would there were some small family daycare centers who would bring their kids to those, which made it good because we had an audience then. We decided that people tend to value things more if they have to pay something for them, not a lot, but a little something. So we decided to ask people to purchase a book. At first, we just said, please bring a book to donate to literacy programs. And then we got smarter and said, please purchase a book at Linden Tree to donate.
Well, there are two reasons for that. One, we needed to make a little money.
And we were paying the entertainers.
And we were paying the entertainers, of course. But also, sometimes you'd get some of the most, not very often, but some of the most dog-eared corner chewed books that you didn't want to give to anybody else.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm curious. As your bookstore, existed over the years, did you find that the kids who would come to your bookstore when they grew up, they would bring their kids to the, did you
That
find
was
that take
so
place?
wonderful. Go ahead.
Yes, and not only that, oh, I get so emotional. I was in the store. They celebrated 40 years of Linden Tree. The new owners, the people who own it now, Chris and
Yeah.
Flo, had a big 40th anniversary for Linden Tree. And
Yeah.
we were there and they introduced us to people. And I think three or four high school students came up to us and said, we grew up with Linden Tree. It was our favorite place to go. And we're working here now and we love it. And oh, that was just the best feeling. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I was very honored to work for your bookstore, but I was in my 20s and was early 20s and mid 20s and stuff. So, and I think most of the people that I worked with were in their 20s too. This was mid 90s and
late
stuff.
90s,
So,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
we had and I wrote down when I was thinking about this, I we were fortunate to have a diverse and quirky staff for our store. But what they had in common was a passion for children's books and a passion for putting the right book in the hands of each child that they helped. And
Or an adult, a grandparent.
adults, yes.
Yeah.
And they would find our staff they were all very different from each other. And
Yeah.
so they would find someone who they connected with, and they would always look for that person to help them
Yeah.
um, when they came looking for a book.
Yeah.
Something just clicked in my head. I was recommended by Jan Lieberman and stuff, and Santa Clara Children's Department. They looked highly upon you and stuff. Did you have connections with children's library staffs in Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and other nearby areas? Los Altos, and
Los Altos has a library too. We didn't have as much as we kind of thought we might, but we did have with some libraries farther afield,
yeah.
which was interesting. There were libraries in Oakland and Berkeley who ordered recordings from us.
Oh, yeah.
And there were, we certainly had connections with school libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I would do, especially in the earlier years, I would do I think it was half a year. Every half a year, I would go to Berkeley, and there's an Association of Children's, ACL, Association of Children's Librarians, which
Oh,
still exists. I don't know if they get together as often or not, but they still put out uh, online books that they recommend that you might want to acquire for your library. And I
oh,
would do a presentation of music for the
yeah.
group. And we got some library sales from that. And then what happened is they found out that places like Amazon
Oh,
would give you an even better price.
yeah.
I mean, we couldn't compete at all. So we kind of lost that connection with the libraries. Another thing that we did, I want to point out, is that we were very strong in early childhood.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons is because Linda was a preschool teacher and continued
Oh,
to teach preschool
yeah.
as we had the store here. Um, and she,
After a long absence, I went back to
well,
teaching.
yeah, our kids graduated from school,
Oh,
no longer around. And
And I thought, if I'm going to get to do what I really love, I need
yeah.
to do it now. And
yeah,
there was a preschool that we had worked closely with And I happened to run into the director one day, and I said, "Oh, at that point I had taken a job at one of the daycare centers at Stanford just to be back working with kids." And she said, we're looking, but I wasn't liking it very much because mostly I was there for nap time. um, she said, "We're looking for a resource teacher and someone to do the music at the end of the day. Are you interested?" And I was interested. And so I was there for about 15 years.
Oh, that's nice.
I,
Was
Yeah.
it what you wanted? Was it
yeah,
the
it
experience
was
that you wanted? Okay.
absolutely what I wanted. Yeah, it
And
was
yeah.
an
And
amazing school.
and one of the things that then, because of our relationship with Children's Music Network, I
Yeah.
realized, and we both realized with that and other musicians, children's musicians who came into the store, that there were a number of musicians in the area who would love to perform in
Yeah.
Los Altos. So we started the summer concert series. But
Yeah.
then also Los Altos has a very successful art and wine festival the
Yeah.
second weekend of every July. It's one of the biggest. They say sometimes it's the biggest. I don't know.
Yeah.
100,000 people over 2 days. It's quite a few
Wow.
people.
Wow.
Not every year that I know of, but so I thought, gee, there's nothing for children at
Yeah.
all. Los Altos is a family town,
Yeah.
but the art and wine is really for adults only.
Yeah.
And so I suggested, and we started a children's stage, and
Oh,
it evolved into a kids zone where
yeah.
there's sometimes bouncy houses and different things, and people had vendors for kids. And
Yeah.
we had a stage every year, and we would sponsor it and pay
With Boulanger.
with Boulanger. The early years was
Yeah.
with Boulanger, and then later on, the Village Association, which was sponsoring the art and wine, could see the value of this, and they started paying for the entertainers. And the first year we had the stage, first 1 or 2 years, we had the stage right next to the store on Third Street,
Oh,
which worked out very well.
yeah.
And that inspired actually other art and wine festivals throughout the Bay Area,
Oh, to do the same thing.
Fremont and Menlo Park and so on, to start a kids zone.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
were the first that I know of
Yeah.
to have a kids zone, and that's continuing to this day.
One of the patterns I'm seeing when I'm listening to you both is that you do one thing and you see an opportunity that nobody else sees, and you go for it, and then people realize the value of that, and other people adopt it and stuff, right? And that's there's an open you have a sort of you guys are risk takers. You're willing.
We we were
Does that make
Cautious
sense? Does that
risk
make
taker.
sense? I guess, yeah. Is
Yeah.
that you see, and you're willing to see opportunities that nobody else sees. Is that accurate, or?
I think so. I have to laugh because we weren't always risk takers. We for several years when we would go to the gift show, we would see these things
Oh,
called Beanie Babies,
Oh,
and
okay.
they had a very high minimum, what seemed enormous to us. You had to buy $250 worth of Beanie Babies, which was like 100 Beanie Babies,
Oh,
to get into to start carrying them. And we just weren't sure about these things, whether that was a good idea or not. That was a big investment. And
yeah.
then our staff started telling us, people are calling every day and asking if you have Beanie Babies. And so the next time we went to the gift show, we ordered an initial order, and they just went, and then
well,
somehow,
the initial order, they shipped us the wrong shipment.
no, that was
Oh,
after the first order. That was
Oh, the first order, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
the first
All
order
right.
sold out and we ordered
Okay.
more, but somehow we were delivered 7 big boxes
about the size of washing machines.
of Beanie Babies.
And I don't know. It's just they just thrown them in, and the boxes almost split. And we thought, oh my gosh! And we looked on the addresses, and underneath where they had our address was some garden center in Philadelphia area. I don't know how we got them. We're not sure.
It wasn't our order at all. And when we called Thai, the company that
Not even, yeah,
carried them,
not even patterns that we would have, ugly ducks and things. And my gosh, so we called them.
we called them and they said, well, just see if they sell. Well, they sold, and we just kept buying more. And
It really, really helped our
That
sales.
accident was a boon for you.
yeah,
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. I remember the store. Where would you put it and stuff? Because the store I was in was the corner of, I think, Third.
Third and State.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking because I remember I can vaguely remember the space. Where would you put all those beanies? That's a
Well,
lot.
we'd only put out a few at a time, but really at that time, people would follow the UPS truck around to get
Oh,
first dibs on them. I mean, it was crazy. And they'd call every day and say, "Did you get your shipment of Beanie Babies in?" They were a huge fad. And
okay.
so
Was this similar to like the Cabbage Patch in the 80s?
Yes,
Probably.
yes. The
Was it
thing
similar
about
to
Beanie
that?
Babies, though, is the owner, Ty something or other, um, did not want anybody who was a licensed customer or a regular customer who bought them from Ty from Warner
to discount them,
to discount them,
Oh,
and he didn't want to mark them up either.
oh,
So you had to sell them for $5.
oh, okay.
Now, a lot of the people who came in to try and buy as many as possible would buy them for $5 and then take them out to uh, a street fair and
Yeah.
sell them for 7 or 8. And
Oh,
they could do that, I guess. I don't know,
They
but
weren't
we couldn't.
yeah. Okay.
So that was one of the reasons for the popularity in our store.
I'm trying to remember if that was during the time. I can't remember and stuff. I just remember you had puppets and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think we had them when we did have them, we'd have them in bins of some,
Yeah,
basket.
yeah, yeah. Sort of like a basket or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just kept most of them in the courtyard and then just brought them out as
Needed.
as
Yeah.
needed.
No, I'm just thinking a refrigerator-sized box sounds pretty big.
It wasn't
Yes, yeah.
quite that big.
Well,
but
half in a refrigerator,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they were big boxes.
they
Oh.
were, but probably not quite as big as we remember.
No, probably not. But it was amazing that boxes stayed together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we
Okay.
occasionally
Okay. Well, okay. You retired in 2010, right?
we did.
Okay. What have you been doing since then?
Well, a lot of what we've been doing is navigating life with a disability. In 2000, it took us. Dennis started having symptoms of weakness in his legs and arms in 2008, I think. It wasn't until 2011 that we got the diagnosis. So we spent a fair amount of time figuring out what to do. As I think I mentioned to you, the first information we found online was life expectancy after
I have
diagnosis.
a condition called, do you want to explain it a little bit? Yeah. Amyloidosis.
AL, primary amyloidosis, primary systemic amyloidosis. Usually it affects it's a blood disorder. It usually affects kidneys or liver or other organs, heart. Dennis has some involvement in his heart, but he is very unusual to have it in his muscles. So the doctors that we saw didn't know about it because it was extremely rare to be in the muscle. So it took us a long time. Dennis had an autologous stem cell transplant soon after the diagnosis.
Which means that they withdrew my blood, run it through a centrifuge, and supposedly cleaned out the bad.
Well,
Uh,
they used your stem cells.
used the stem
created new
cells. Yeah,
stem cells, and they
put
used
it
your
back into my.
stem cells to after they had killed all your immunity, they gave you back your stem cells, and but unfortunately, you still had amyloidosis at the end of that stem cell
And
transplant.
they think that the amyloidosis, which is probably true, came from my service in Vietnam in 1970,
Oh,
exposure to Agent Orange.
oh,
I was
okay.
very fortunate that for many years it did not affect me. It
Yeah.
only started to affect me about
Uh-huh.
18 years ago. And
Yeah.
then it was becoming difficult for me to walk and to
Uh-huh.
pick up any boxes of books and stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
It was very hard.
So that's why we decided to sell the store so we could take the time we needed to get the diagnosis and start.
Yeah. Was it a relief to find out? Because I had a friend who had Lyme disease, and she told me that the not knowing was difficult. And when the doctors finally diagnosed it, it was kind of a relief for her to find out.
I
Was it the
think
same for
Yeah,
you?
it
yeah.
was because we wondered if he had ALS. Several doctors thought he had some kind of myositis, which does not have a good prognosis. And so, yes, getting the diagnosis, even though it was, um, as I said, they said life expectancy from the time of diagnosis was 6 to 12 months
Yeah.
when it was first diagnosed. They were wrong, and there were treatments that were just coming online, and they put him in remission for all these years. So,
Yeah,
um,
I'm glad you're still here, Dennis.
Yeah, so am I. I still go to Stanford to the cancer center once a month and get a monthly injection of a cancer drug called daratumumab. And
Yeah.
it seems to be as successful or more effective with amyloidosis than it does some forms of cancer, which is
multiple myeloma, I think, is what
multiple
it was
myeloma.
designed for.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so I'm very grateful for that.
And
Yeah.
it started out we had to have infusions every month, and well, first it was every week, and then every 2 weeks, but now it's down to an injection instead every month, and
Yeah.
Okay.
kept his numbers where they need to be. So we're grateful.
However, I am confined to a wheelchair. I'm sitting in a wheelchair now,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. The VA
Okay.
has been very good to me. I have a wonderful electric wheelchair, and
Yeah.
I actually now have an overhead track
What's
in
that? What
our
is an
house.
overhead track? What is that?
So it's a track in the ceiling that goes from our bedroom into the bathroom and
Okay.
to the toilet and to the shower, and then into the family room where the chair spends the night plugged in.
Oh,
And it
okay.
has like a trapeze almost, with something that comes under his legs and then something that he goes under his arms, and it picks him up and drops him off in bed or drops him off onto
Oh,
the
okay.
toilet or the
That makes it easier for you, so you don't have to do all the
Oh
lifting,
my
right?
gosh,
I
yeah.
don't have to lift it. Dennis, until last January, was still walking with forearm crutches, a few
Oh,
steps on the level. But while they were putting in the lift, well, it was getting harder and harder for him to walk, and the wheelchair won't fit into our bathroom. We don't have an accessible house,
yeah.
and so he also used to walk into the bathroom and step over the threshold and into the shower and stand leaning on the grab bars to shower. But in June, a year and a half ago, he fell in the shower, and so he had gone a long time without the shower. And I asked the VA what they thought we could do about it, and they said, "Well, we could put in the ceiling lift." So the problem was that when they were putting it in, it took 10 days, and Dennis didn't walk at all during those 10 days because the floor was slippery with this fine, fine
Yeah.
dust that I
Yeah.
couldn't clean, and it made his crutches slip. In those 10 days, he was no longer able to stand and
Yeah.
bear weight. So now we're working very hard to get him back to being able to stand, even if he's in a harness that's attached to the ceiling track, just to do some weight bearing,
Yeah.
um, so that things don't atrophy. But his his muscles atrophied. His hamstrings and calf muscles
Contracted.
don't allow him to straighten his leg, and if his knees aren't locked, he can't bear weight. So
Oh, okay.
we've been having physical therapy for the last three and some months, and
Okay.
he's finally been able to straighten the legs enough to bear some weight, and we're hopeful that he still won't be walking with the forearm crutches by himself anymore.
Yeah.
That's past, and that's okay because we were always terrified that he would fall. We
Yeah.
live 3 blocks from the fire department, and they know our house well because
Yeah.
Dennis would fall, I would have to call them, and they would come and lift him up and get him into his chair or into bed. But
Yeah.
he did break a bone in his foot, and he broke a couple bones, I think, in his feet actually, and sprained them too. So
Yeah.
it was time not to be walking anymore on his own.
Yeah. It sounds like though the Veterans Administration has been very helpful. I'm caregiving right now for my both my mother-in-law and my dad, and I'm going to spend this month and next month just going to TRICARE. My both of them are my father-in-law was in the Air Force and my dad was in the Navy. So I actually don't know all the benefits. Yeah, that are there any benefits that we're not using that could be helpful for
That's a
us?
good idea to find out. Yeah,
Yeah, so
because
what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do some research with them, and sometimes when I call them, they always refer me to the Veterans Administration and stuff. Hey, did you find that relatively easy to wind through and get help, or did you have to go through several calls to find out? You
we
know,
had to we there was someone in the eligibility department who was very helpful
okay,
at the Palo Alto VA. He's no longer there, but I'm sure that everyone there seems to be very helpful. Um,
okay,
and
But it's also very compartmentalized.
oh,
So
okay,
one person is not going to help you with everything.
and then
okay,
we did have to fill out a bunch of paperwork related to the Agent Orange and the diagnosis of amyloidosis. And then we had to take it to someone in San Mateo and have them help us submit it. And they miswrote it on the forms, and they said it was ALS. It's, I think, because it's called AL, systemic amyloidosis, but it wasn't ALS. So then the VA called and said, this says you have ALS, but the diagnosis looks like it's not that. And so then we had to explain that
yeah,
they've gotten it wrong. And so there is a process, but they were
okay.
helpful.
Okay. Is there an organization that you would recommend for anybody who wants to donate? I guess. Is there an organization like that or no? Or
I'm sure there are, to the veterans.
oh no, to the I don't know how to pronounce it and
Oh,
stuff.
amyloidosis. There's an amyloidosis society, I think.
Okay.
Mhm.
There's something, let's see.
Yeah.
There are several different kinds of
Mm.
amyloidosis. There's
Okay.
also a transthyretin. I've seen ads for the other kind, ATTR amyloidosis is different. It's a familial, and a hereditary kind of amyloidosis, and it's different from what Dennis has,
Okay.
and the treatment is different. And then Alzheimer's is also, it's amyloid deposits in the brain,
Oh,
also completely different from what Dennis has. But
yeah.
there's something called the Amyloidosis Research Consortium, ARC, that
Yeah.
is
Okay.
always looking for help. And there's an amyloidosis support group. So we've been able to go to meetings of that in various places. We have family in Seattle, so if we were when we would visit them, we could sometimes there would sometimes happen to be an amyloidosis meeting there. We went to one in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
Um, I think one in Boston,
Yeah.
and so yeah, we've done some. Our goal when we retired was to travel. That we both Dennis was in Japan for his freshman year, half of his freshman year in college. I studied in Germany, and then I spent 2 years in the Peace Corps in Brazil. So we've
Oh.
loved to travel, and we wanted to
And
do.
I spent a year in Vietnam.
Oh.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
And what he was very fortunate to come home in one piece and to
Yeah.
come home with an attitude that the Vietnamese people were beautiful people, and
Yeah.
um, so uh, we we had thought, well, we'll travel more. We had an opportunity while we had the bookstore to travel to China with Jili Zhang, who's a children's
Yeah.
author who grew up during the Cultural Revolution and
Oh.
has written a book called Red Scarf Girl about that. And she led a trip of librarians and educators
Yeah.
to China, and we got to do that. And when our daughters were studying abroad in Costa Rica and York, England, we traveled with to see them. Anyway, we've been very lucky. We've done a lot of traveling. But it's too scary. Not
Oh.
every not every country uh, has the equivalent of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the
Yeah.
um, we are so grateful. I should mention that for the people that went before us and fought for accessibility for people in wheelchairs and with disabilities
There's
because
a documentary about that. I just saw a while ago. Crip Camp. Crip Camp.
yes, yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I saw that one. That was
Yeah.
I didn't
great,
know much about the disability rights movement until that documentary. Yeah,
yes.
what they went through in the 70s was they were very brave, but they were also very they had this they had they were lucky to have parents who gave them the encouragement and the self-esteem and stuff. But it sounded like that Crip Camp was a very formative influence on their lives and stuff, you know.
It definitely was. We've seen it as well, and it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. With me, the Liebermans, they told me you can love America, but until you traveled all 50 states, you can't know the great diversity of this country. So my wife and we had this idea. Before I die, I want to try to hit all 50 states. But
Go for it.
yeah, I've hit 20 so far, but we've stopped at 20 because we have to caregive. But at some point, we might continue in the future. But if you want to travel around America, that might be a possibility and stuff. But my recommendation. Uh, Actually, I have too many recommendations, but every state has something wonderful. It's just you have to go to the library, go to Frommer's and Folders, look at what they have. But what I learned is that talk to the waitresses, talk to the cashiers. They'll recommend stuff that's not in the books that are cool and stuff. So
Yeah. For us that we have done some traveling here, or we've done quite a lot of traveling here. We've driven across the country, and we have. I was born in Boston. We have our
oh,
daughters are in Boston and upstate New York.
I should show you my shirt, the Boston Celtics.
All
Yes.
right.
And so we have done quite a bit of traveling here as well, but it's more difficult now because of all the equipment that Dennis needs,
Oh,
and that
okay.
has changed. He used to need a toilet that was. We used to travel with a folding bedside commode and blocks that went under it to make it high enough so that he could stand up from that.
Yeah.
And now he can't stand up, so now something lower but is okay. But we need a Hoyer lift that will
Oh,
pick him up and put him
Yeah, yeah,
to go, and it's kind of tricky to travel with that. And you have to have a bed that doesn't go all the way to the that has space under it for the Hoyer lift to wheel
yeah.
under to put him onto the bed, or and a bathroom that's big enough for the Hoyer lift to get in and straddle the
Toilet.
toilet to drop him down. So what we've done, we rented an apartment in Massachusetts close to our
Oh,
daughter and our grandkids, and we would
yeah,
stay there for 2 or 3 months at a time, um, so that we didn't have to travel around so much, and we could make that apartment the way it needed to be for him,
oh,
so that life was not so complicated. And that's worked pretty well. And so we have actually bought a house that we're restoring close to our daughter.
oh, that's nice.
And at some point, that's where we will end up because it's too far for them to come if we need help here.
Yeah.
Um,
And I've never, I went to Massachusetts in 2003, 2004 to see the leaves change color, but there was a drought that year.
yeah.
Everything stayed green. I should have checked I didn't, I was just thinking, okay, around September, October, that's when people tell me the leaves change color. But I still loved it though. I didn't realize Massachusetts had so many trees.
Oh, I know. It's so beautiful and green.
Yeah.
Also, because through some of the organizations that we belong to, Children's Music Network, which we've talked about, they have an annual conference and they meet in different parts of the country. So when we go to those, we get to see those parts of the country. Um, we also joined when my father died. We joined the Musical Box
MBSI.
Society
Yeah.
Yeah.
International, which he had been a member of, and they have an annual convention, and we've been able to go to a number of different places through that. When Dennis was still a little bit more able to get up
Oh,
and down.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, enjoy your time when you do go to Massachusetts. Enjoy your time,
We
and
will.
Oh, we do.
send me a picture of the leaves when it's. I missed it. It was still green. Oh, okay. There is a question I want. When I saw you in the bookstore, you said you had to leave to go to a vigil for
I
Gaza, and so you've been attending those various vigils and stuff. Could you tell me about that and stuff? I didn't realize there was. I get it was in El Camino and the Embarcadero, right?
Yes, in Town
Okay.
and Country, just at the edge of Town and Country um, shopping center. There,
Yeah.
um, there are it's Christians and Jews and Palestinians who meet just to raise awareness of what's happening in Gaza, and um, it's a joyful vigil. People are it's completely nonviolent. Absolutely, there's nothing there would not they're committed to nonviolence, but they feel, as we do, that it's important that we stop supporting sending weapons to Israel, who has really abused their right to fight back after. Um,
Yeah.
it's not that I'd say what Hamas did is good. I don't, and it was terrible. But the response to that has been
Yeah.
way over the top.
Yeah. I've been doing cartoons on that. Just the dehumanization of both the Israeli hostages and the people in Gaza who are being starved to death and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
Yeah.
terrible. We happened to go to the United Nations Association Film Festival this week.
Oh,
We saw two films. One of them was a group of they're called combatant. Oh, wait a minute. One of them was a group of
Oh, yeah.
of Palestinians and Israelis who had been in the armed services, who didn't want to keep
Perpetuate the.
killing
yeah.
people that they
Yeah.
didn't know, and
Yeah.
um, they joined together to work toward peace and
Mm,
understanding and to
yeah.
change things. Um,
Yeah.
and And then we saw also about Ukraine, this beautiful,
Yeah.
uh, but it's horrible, sad film called Porcelain War. Uh,
Oh, I think that got nominated for an Oscar. Correct.
two, or
Yeah.
for two Nobel Prizes, I think. So
Oh, okay. Yeah.
um, maybe an Oscar too. I, if you have a chance to see that, and the other one was called, I can't remember the title,
Yeah.
but anyway,
Stuff.
we get to be a bit long-winded, I'm afraid.
Oh,
Um,
no, no, no. That's okay. This is all interesting and stuff. I haven't seen you guys in 30 years, so be as long-winded as you want.
the film that I was trying to remember is with the Israeli and Palestinian former combatants, is called There Is Another Way.
No.
And it's going to be shown on November 2nd at First Congregational Church in Palo Alto at Lewis and Embarcadero. And I will send you a link. I'll just send you an email with
Okay.
the link to that. It was, and then they will have, we were able, when we saw it on Friday, the filmmaker was there. I
Oh,
think, I think on no, on Sunday, the 2nd of November, it's going to be, the filmmaker will be with us by Zoom,
oh, yeah.
but they will show the film.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
quite moving,
Yeah.
and um,
And we need to see things like that. We need to
I,
see that um, Palestine, many Palestinians and Israelis want to live in peace.
they do.
They don't want to be stuck in this conflict.
I think that's so true. I think that's probably true of the Ukrainians as well with the Russians. But
Yeah.
I had a high school professor, a teacher, a civics teacher, who suggested that maybe what we need to do is put the leaders
Oh,
into a big arena and let
yeah.
them fight it out and let the people live in peace. And it
Yeah.
seems like that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a
so,
wonderful idea and stuff. Yeah. It's better than having all these people die and stuff. So,
oh, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, you know, during your vigils and stuff, this is during the summer and stuff. Did you meet Quakers and stuff? I know Quakers tend to be involved in.
we I we were there with lots of other people. I didn't I don't know if there were Quakers there or
Oh, okay.
but they probably were.
Okay.
Um, I would imagine there were people from who are Jewish, who are Palestinian, who are I mean yeah Jewish, Palestinian, Christian. There
Yeah.
were
Muslim.
Yeah.
Well, Palestinian
Palestinians.
Muslim. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You don't have to be
what was
Muslim to be Palestinian.
there was usually music. Sometimes the Raging Grannies sang, and I have joined
Oh,
the
yeah.
Raging Grannies. So
I
we
love
had,
it. I've been to a few protests. When I see them, I'm always happy and stuff.
yeah, uh, and but they always they often have music and sometimes some dancing. Sometimes they read poems from
Uh,
the people who are in
yeah.
Gaza. Um,
Yeah.
there were and everyone is just seems so nice, and
Yeah.
it's as I said, it's always peaceful, and the response of the cars, everybody honks and waves and
Yeah.
gives us hearts,
Not
and
everybody, but a lot.
almost everyone, that once in a while there's
We get a finger.
but
Oh, okay. Yeah.
most of the time, and people mouth thank you, and just it's really
It's moving.
heartwarming.
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason I'm asking about the Quakers is because I used for maybe a brief period of time, I attended a Quaker meeting in Palo Alto
Ah,
and stuff. They were very nice and stuff. It's just I wasn't used to sitting for an hour and you know how their Quaker meetings are. I guess you sit for
Oh,
an hour and you're quiet and you
no.
only say something if you're moved by the spirit. and I didn't have the discipline for a sit for. I kept on thinking, when am I going to eat for breakfast? You know, when so I felt kind of I kind of felt like a phony being there because I couldn't. My mind wasn't disciplined enough to think about God. I was thinking about, gosh, I'm hungry. I hope to have, got to take out the trash. I think my wife wants me to do this or that and stuff. But
It's very hard, I think, to quiet our minds
yeah,
that long.
yeah,
Uh, for
yeah. So
sure.
it might. I was thinking it must just be me. I'm not as spiritual as I thought. And stuff. But okay. Well, I think I don't want you to stay too long and stuff. But is there anything you want to say before we go or?
I just want to say, I think I am as surprised as anybody that we eventually owned a bookstore, which became quite successful.
Yeah,
I never in my wildest dreams did I think that that's how our business career would evolve.
uh-huh.
But it did, and we just had so many wonderful experiences. It was also a lot of work,
Yeah,
and we were often, especially in the beginning, on the edge as far as how are we going to pay the bills?
yeah,
Uh, are enough people going to walk in the door and buy some books today so that we can
yeah,
pay our rent this month?
But
It wasn't money hand over fist by any means.
no, it certainly wasn't. But I think one of the things that helped us be successful was that even though we certainly hoped, we were always happy when we had a day where we made a lot of sales. Um, we didn't push ourselves or our staff to make sure that we sold a certain amount every day or
yeah,
sold that we were happy if our customers were happy. And
yeah,
I think that there wasn't that pressure to kind of really try to get that sale. And I think it was to our benefit that we.
yeah. Well, I want to say that um, Derek and Craig told me that you've been an inspiration to a lot of bookstore owners and stuff. They said that.
Really, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, but they were mentioned because they were surprised that I knew you. And when I mentioned that I used to work for you both and stuff, they mentioned that yeah, a lot of bookstore owners in the Bay look to you too as inspiration and stuff because you started from scratch and I didn't know your whole
We
history
did. Yeah.
and stuff, but I guess because of that inspired them to keep going because in the there was a time when independent I heard this from various librarians and stuff that they were worried about independent bookstores getting swallowed up by
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble and
And
what was it?
borders. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But now it turns out that Barnes and Noble and Borders is the one struggling now, and I think independent bookstores are the ones who are thriving, because maybe as the lessons you learned about connecting to the community, that's what that's what helps bookstores, or I guess any small business survive. I don't know. There's a story I have when I was I won an award and for my cartoons, and I went to Washington D.C. And when I was in Washington D.C. with my wife, we sat next to somebody, and when we mentioned that we lived in Santa Clara, they said, oh, it was weird. It was a weird coincidence, but they knew people who lived in Santa, and they asked me, "Do you know Stan's Donuts?" I said, "No."
Oh.
And so, yeah, so when we got home and stuff during the pandemic, I decided to go to Stan's Donuts just because this guy recommended it. And this is during the pandemic. In the middle of the pandemic, there was a huge line in Sunday morning at around 8 o'clock in the morning to get Stan's Donuts and stuff. And
Wow.
and that was because of they developed loyalty. And I think that's what you developed with the customers at Linden Tree, that same sort of loyalty as Stan's Donuts and stuff. So, you know,
I
We hope
I
so.
think
We
that's
hope so.
true. And
Yeah.
I think that the two people who own the store now, that
so
they're the second owners since we sold it. I think they also are building up that loyalty, and we're so delighted with that the store is continuing. It's we told both the people both times that the store sold. We said we feel like the grandparents of the store. It's so fun to see our grandchild thrive, and so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I just want to say that um, a piece of Linden Tree stayed with me and stuff. That was an even though I was working 4 jobs and stuff, they were not 4 hard jobs. But back then it was easier to pay the rent. Rent hadn't escalated the way it is now and stuff, so I was able to survive on 4 jobs and stuff. But I I just remember it being a fun place to work and stuff. And
uh,
when I think of you guys and stuff, it was a very nice time in my life and stuff. Although my life now is pretty nice too and stuff. I'm not saying I'm actually pretty happy. I'm not miserable.
Good, good,
that's good to know.
good.
I am so delighted that we were able to reconnect. And
Yeah, I'll be seeing you guys maybe at some point. Right now, since I'm caregiving, I'm limited in my time I can visit people. But especially now that I know that you guys know Craig and Derek and stuff, I'll be seeing you more and stuff.
yes,
So, yeah, but if you do go to Massachusetts, I should give you my address. Mail me some pictures of the leaves changing color. I missed it in 2004. So
okay. I probably have some from past years, so I can email you if that works for you.
oh yeah, sure, sure.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay.